Sports Talker Nation, welcome back once again. It's your host, the G-Man, as we continue with our 2016 team-by-team fantasy preview. Today we're going to talk about those Jacksonville Jaguars. And surprisingly, for a team that didn't have a great record last year, they have tons of fantasy options that I think people should look into. Starting with their quarterback. Blake Bortles is a number one quarterback. You heard me say that correctly. Look at the numbers last year. Look at what that guy can do. He is a number one fantasy quarterback, especially on a team that's defense is young and is still going to give up some points. They're improving, but he is a number one quarterback. I wouldn't put him as a top 5, but I'd probably put him in that 9 to 12 range as a quarterback. You can do a lot worse. Let's call him in that Eli Manning category. Running back, they did bring in Chris Ivory, which actually hurts the value of both Ivory and Yeldon. I thought Yeldon had a chance to get better very quickly. I guess they were a little concerned that he had a lot of injury problems, and he seemed a little reticent to run the ball right up the middle. So they brought in Ivory to be kind of the pile driver. I think he's going to also be more of the down on the goal line guy. So I think he's your guy. But even though he had a real nice year last year, I would still probably put him in the mid to late number 2 running back type because he's not going to catch the ball much. I think they're going to let Yeldon do that. From a wide receiver perspective, they have one clear number 1 wide receiver. Argument can be made that he's a top 5 to 6 wide receiver. And Allen Robinson came into his own. Huge numbers, huge touchdowns. He's absolutely a guy who's going to do well. Next is, let's say Allen Hurns is number 2 still this year. I would say there's a toss-up whether Hurns maintains or whether Marquise Lee comes into his own a little bit. But I do think that Allen Hurns is probably a number 3, but he's a very high-end number 3. And if Lee performs the way I think he should, he's also going to be in that number 3 range. From a tight end perspective, Julius Thomas hurt quite a bit, but a great red zone option. I would still consider him a late tight end. Late number 1 tight end, probably in that 10 to 14 range tight ends. From a defensive perspective, yeah, I'd probably avoid the defense. Again, I think they're going to be better. I think as a team they're going to be better, so I think they're going to turn the ball over a little more. They have more playmakers, and I think they're also going to be able to get to the passer a little bit more because that coverage is better. But I would still avoid them. But offensively, from a fantasy perspective, you could do a whole hell of a lot worse than the Bortles and the Allen Robinsons and even the Hurns types. So with your 2016 team-by-team fantasy preview of the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm your host, the G-Man, and I am out.